The Worldbreaker hung in orbit above Earth like a dark moon. It was massive beyond anything humanity had ever built, bristling with weapons and wrapped in shields that bent light itself. At its heart was the command nexus, a chamber where one human could link with every Stormbreaker simultaneously. Captain Sung-ho stood in that chamber, waiting. He'd been selected from 10,000 candidates for having the perfect psychological profile, calm under pressure, tactical genius, and most importantly, the ability to hold multiple thoughts simultaneously without losing focus. "Are you ready?" Admiral Kyung-soo asked over the comm. "As ready as anyone can be for this," Sung-ho replied. He sat in the command chair, and neural connectors extended from the walls linking to the implants in his spine. Initiating connection. The Worldbreaker came alive. Sung-ho gasped as his consciousness expanded to touch the ship's vast systems. It was like becoming a god, awareness spreading across kilometers of hull and weapons. But he wasn't done yet. The Worldbreaker was just the bridge. Beyond it waited 547 Stormbreakers, each one ready to link. Outside the shipyards, the Stormbreaker Armada assembled for the last time. Every surviving ship, every pilot who had fought and bled for humanity's survival. They formed up in Earth's orbit, a wall of steel and determination between the planet and the approaching doom. Commander Tae-sung was there in the storm's edge, scarred and battered but still fighting. Dong-hyun commanded his battle group with grim efficiency. Bora led the striker wing, more machine than woman now but still fiercely loyal. Ji-woo coordinated engineering support from the shipyards, ready to patch damage in real time. Dr. Hana watched from the command center, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered to no one. "I'm sorry we found that monument. I'm sorry I started this war." "You didn't start anything," Admiral Kyung-soo said gently. "You gave us a chance to fight. That's all anyone can ask for." The Dominion arrived like a dark tide. 16,000 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. High War Master Kreltoth broadcast his final demand. "Humans, this is your last chance. Surrender the precursor technology and accept Dominion rule. Refuse, and we will reduce your world to ash." There was a long silence. Then Admiral Kyung-soo's voice rang out across every human frequency, broadcast to every colony, every ship, every person who called themselves human. "People of Earth and beyond. Today we face extinction. The easy path is surrender. The safe path is submission. But we are human, and we have never chosen the easy path. We have climbed from caves to stars through determination and refusal to quit. Today we prove why the precursors left their greatest weapons for us. Today we prove that humanity deserves to survive. All ships engage the enemy. For Earth, for humanity, for everyone we've lost and everyone we're protecting." The Stormbreaker Armada surged forward. And then Sung-ho activated the Worldbreaker's full fusion protocol. 547 consciousnesses linked through his mind. Sung-ho screamed as the flood of information hit him, but he didn't break. He couldn't break. Too many people were counting on him. He felt every pilot, every ship, every weapon, and slowly, impossibly, he made sense of it all. The Stormbreakers moved as one. Not just coordinated, but unified. They were no longer individual ships. They were one organism. One mind, one storm. The Dominion had never faced anything like it. The battle for Earth began with a fury that lit up sensors across half the galaxy. The Stormbreakers didn't just fight. They danced through combat with perfect grace, each ship supporting the others, shields sharing power across the entire network, weapons firing in patterns that seemed impossible. Young Lieutenant Min-jung, at 19 the youngest fusion pilot, had a revelation mid-battle. She felt it through the network. The truth that the precursors had built into their technology. "It's not about the weapons," she broadcast to everyone through the Worldbreaker link. "It's about us. The technology gets stronger the more we trust each other, the more we fight together. The precursors didn't just leave us weapons. They left us a test. Can we be unified? Can we be worthy?" And somehow, impossibly, the Stormbreakers became even more powerful. The Dominion lost 1,000 ships in the first hour. 2,000 in the second. Kreltoth watched in horror as his overwhelming force was systematically dismantled by an enemy that refused to die. "This isn't possible," he said. "They should be broken. They should be afraid." But humans weren't afraid. They were angry. Angry at every lost colony, every fallen friend, every innocent life destroyed by Dominion arrogance. And that anger, channeled through precursor technology designed to reward determination, became an unstoppable force. By the 6th hour, the Dominion had lost 5,000 vessels. Their formation was breaking. Kreltoth, ancient and proud, couldn't accept defeat. He ordered his flagship to ram the Worldbreaker in a suicide attack. Commander Tae-sung saw it coming. Without hesitation, he broke from the formation and intercepted the flagship with the Storm's Edge. The collision destroyed both ships in a blast of energy that temporarily blinded every sensor in the solar system. No, Dong-hyun screamed across the network. But he knew what Tae-sung would want. He took command of the first battle group and led them in a devastating assault on the Dominion's command structure. Without leadership, the enemy fleet began to fall apart. The battle raged for 18 hours. When it finally ended, 6,000 Dominion ships were destroyed. The remaining 10,000 fled in complete disorder, the first retreat in their entire history. Earth was saved. The cost had been terrible. 200 Stormbreakers destroyed, thousands of pilots dead, and heroes like Tae-sung would never come home. But humanity had survived. When Captain Sung-ho finally disconnected from the Worldbreaker, he collapsed. Dr. Young-mi rushed to his side. "Did we win?" he asked weakly. "Yes. You saved us all." In the days that followed, the galaxy watched in shock. The Galactic Concordat could no longer ignore humanity. Counselor Dalnim broke protocol entirely by personally visiting Earth. "We were wrong," the ancient alien said simply. "We should have helped. We should have stood with you. On behalf of the Concordat, I offer humanity full membership, not as junior members but as equals." Ambassador Yuna accepted, but with conditions. The Concordat must change. No civilization should face extinction alone while others watch. "If you want our membership, you accept our ideals." The Concordat agreed. For the first time in galactic history, the elder races accepted that they needed to evolve. Dr. Hana established the Precursor Heritage Institute, dedicated to studying ancient technology responsibly. The remaining monuments were claimed by humanity, and their knowledge shared with allies. The Stormbreaker Armada was recognized as the greatest military force in the galaxy. But Admiral Kyung-soo, now old and tired, issued one final order. "The Stormbreakers will defend, not conquer. We've proven our strength. Now we prove our wisdom." Fleetmaster Jinho retired, replaced by Bora. Despite the fusion's effect, she remained deeply human where it mattered. She created the Stormbreaker Doctrine. Overwhelming response to aggression, generous mercy to defeated foes, eternal vigilance against predators. The Varesh Dominion, humbled and broken, sued for peace. Humanity could have destroyed them. Instead, they offered terms: disarm, reform, and join the galactic community as equals. It was more mercy than the Dominion had ever shown anyone. 1 year after the war ended, Ji-woo and engineer Hee-jin discovered a 7th monument in a distant galaxy. When they activated it, one final message appeared in perfect English. "To those who inherit our storm, you have proven worthy. We, the Velnari, failed because we built weapons without building unity. You succeeded because you understood what we learned too late. Technology is nothing without those who wield it with wisdom. The universe needs guardians, not conquerors. Protect the weak. Show mercy to the defeated. Stand together when darkness comes. You are now the Stormbreakers, and your legacy will outlast the stars." Dr. Hana read the message to the assembled leaders of humanity. There were tears, but also pride. "We didn't just survive," she said. "We became something greater, something the precursors dreamed of but never achieved." High above Earth, the Worldbreaker hung silent, waiting for the next threat. The Stormbreaker Armada patrolled the borders of known space, guardians of peace. And across 100 worlds, humanity looked to the stars with hope instead of fear. They had faced extinction and refused to surrender. They had inherited the storm and learned to wield it with wisdom. They had proven beyond all doubt that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The age of the Stormbreakers had begun. The Dominion's second wave hit humanity like a hammer. High War Master Kreltoth himself led the assault, an ancient warrior who had conquered 47 civilizations over his 1,000-year life. He brought 20,000 warships, weapons stolen from 100 dead species, and absolute confidence in victory. Humanity fought a desperate retreat. System after system fell. Colonies were evacuated hours before the Dominion arrived. The Stormbreaker Armada was everywhere at once, buying time with their lives. Each battle was a calculated sacrifice. Trade one Stormbreaker for 50 enemy ships. Trade territory for time. Trade everything except surrender. Commander Taesung's hair had gone gray in the 6 months since the war began. His ship, the Storm's Edge, bore scars from a dozen battles. He'd lost count of how many friends had died under his command. But he kept fighting because the alternative was unthinkable. "Commander, we need to fall back," Dong-hyun said during the defense of the Kepler colonies. His second battle group was down to 8 ships from the original 15. "We can't hold this position." 5 more minutes, Taesung replied, watching the evacuation counter. 3,000 civilians still on the surface. Those 5 minutes cost them 2 more Stormbreakers. But 3,000 people lived. Dr. Hana barely left her laboratory anymore. She lived on stimulants and determination, decoding more precursor data every day. The monument archives were vast beyond imagination, and she'd barely scratched the surface. Then she found it. A reference to other monuments. "There are 6 more," she told Admiral Kyung-soo during an emergency briefing, "scattered across the galaxy. Each one contains additional technology, more knowledge. If we could reach them..." "The nearest one is in Dominion-controlled space," the Admiral said, already pulling up star charts. "Deep in their territory. It's a suicide mission," Taesung said bluntly. "Then we find someone willing to die for humanity." Admiral Kyung-soo looked around the room. "I need volunteers for a Black Ops mission. Penetrate enemy lines, reach the monument, extract the data, and get out. Odds of survival are near 0. Commander Jae-min stepped forward. He was younger than Taesung, with cold eyes that had seen too much death. "I'll lead the mission. I'm expendable. The Stormbreakers aren't." "You're not expendable," the Admiral said. "But I accept your volunteer." Jae-min took a stealth ship and 6 Special Forces soldiers. They disappeared into Dominion space like ghosts. For 3 weeks there was only silence. Meanwhile, the fusion pilot program continued to evolve. Engineer Hee-jin worked tirelessly to make the consciousness network safer. She succeeded in reducing the psychological damage but couldn't eliminate it entirely. Every pilot who used the fusion system came back changed. More machine than human in some fundamental way. Bora was the most affected. After 50 fusion events, she could barely communicate outside of her ship anymore. When asked how she felt, she simply said, "I am the storm. Nothing else matters." Dr. Young-mi watched the pilots with growing concern. "We're losing them. Not to death, but to something worse. They're becoming part of the ships permanently. Can we stop it?" Admiral Kyung-soo asked. "Yes, by not using the fusion system. But without it, we lose our only advantage against Dominion numbers." It was an impossible choice, and the Admiral knew it. "Continue the program, but make it voluntary. Anyone who wants out gets out. No pressure. Not a single pilot asked to leave." The breakthrough came when Taesung volunteered to test a new fusion protocol. Instead of linking 20 ships, they would try linking 50. Instead of a flat network, one commander would serve as the coordinator, the hub through which all others connected. "The strain on the coordinator will be extreme," Hee-jin warned. "Your mind will be processing tactical data from 50 sources simultaneously. Most humans would die instantly. Then I'll be the one who doesn't die," Taesung said. The test happened during the Battle of New Seoul. The Dominion had brought 800 ships to overwhelm the colony's defenders. Taesung's fleet had only 60 Stormbreakers. The math said they would lose. Taesung initiated the fusion. 50 ships linked their consciousness to his. For one terrifying moment, he felt like he was dying. His mind expanded, stretched, torn apart by the flood of information. He was in 50 places at once. He could see through 50 sets of sensors. He could feel 50 different reactor cores burning. And then, somehow, he made sense of it all. The battle network moved with perfect precision. Taesung didn't just command the ships. He was the ships. Every vessel moved like a limb of his body, responding to his will before his thoughts were fully formed. The Dominion ships, for all their numbers, fought like individuals. The Stormbreakers fought like a single organism. 800 Dominion vessels died in 6 hours. The Stormbreakers lost 3. When the fusion ended, Taesung collapsed. He woke up 3 days later in medical bay, Dr. Young-mi standing over him with a grim expression. "Your brain is different now," she said quietly. "The neural pathways have been permanently altered. You think faster, process more, but you're not entirely human anymore. The fusion changed you. Can I do it again?" Taesung asked. "Physically? Yes, but I calculate that coordinating more than 30 ships would kill you." Your mind can't handle more than that without complete breakdown. It wasn't enough. They needed something bigger, something that could coordinate the entire fleet at once. The message from Jamin arrived 4 weeks after he'd left. It was short, transmitted on emergency frequencies. Found the monument. Data extracted. Mission successful. Heavy casualties. I'm the only one left. He made it back 3 days later, his stealth ship barely holding together. When they pulled him out, he was more dead than alive. But the data crystal he carried was intact. Dr. Hana decoded it immediately. What she found made her cry with relief and terror in equal measure. It's called the World Breaker, she told Admiral Kyung-soo, a command nexus ship, 10 times larger than a normal Stormbreaker. It's designed specifically to coordinate entire fleets. With this, we could link all our ships into one battle mind. How long to build it? The Admiral asked. 4 months. Maybe 5. It requires resources we don't have and technology we barely understand. You have all the resources in human space. Make it happen. The Worldbreaker began construction at the largest shipyard over Earth. Every engineer, every scientist, every worker focused on this one project. Meanwhile, the Stormbreaker Armada fought a desperate delaying action across 20 systems, bleeding the Dominion slowly while buying time. High War Master Kreltoth grew increasingly frustrated. His forces had lost 11,000 ships to humanity's 300 Stormbreakers. This should have been an easy conquest. Instead, it had become the bloodiest war in Dominion history. They refused to accept the natural order, he told his commanders. Very well. We will teach them. Gather every remaining ship. We will strike at their homeworld directly. We will burn Earth itself. The Dominion assembled 16,000 warships for one final assault. They would bypass the outer defenses entirely and go straight for humanity's heart. It would be the largest military operation in galactic history. Ambassador Yuna sent one last desperate message to the Galactic Concordat. Please help us. If humanity falls, you'll be next. The Dominion won't stop. The response was the same as before. We cannot intervene. But this time one voice dissented. Counselor Dalnim of the Catharin broke 1,000,000 years of neutrality doctrine by sending a private message to Yuna. I cannot help officially, but I will watch. And I will remember who stood alone when facing extinction. It was cold comfort, but it was something. The Tarsus system had been a peaceful trading hub for 200 years. 3 planets, 12 stations, and home to 40 million humans who never expected to see war. When the Varesh Dominion fleet arrived, those civilians had less than 6 hours to evacuate. Commander Tae-sung watched the evacuation ships stream away from the planets like a river of light. His battle group, 15 Stormbreakers strong, held position between the civilians and the approaching enemy. Through his view screen, he could see the Dominion fleet spreading out like a dark cloud. They're not even trying to hide their numbers, Dong-hyun said from the second battle group's position. They want us to see how outmatched we are. Let them think what they want, Tae-sung replied. He opened a channel to all ships. All units, remember your training. The Stormbreakers are faster and hit harder than anything they've got. We use that advantage. Hit hard, move fast, don't stay in one place. Specialist Bora's voice came through from the striker wing. Commander, we're reading their formation. It's a standard overwhelming wave. They're going to try to crush us with numbers. Then we don't let them surround us. Tae-sung checked his tactical display. The last evacuation ship was clearing the gravity well. All civilian ships are clear. Battle groups engage at will. The Stormbreaker Armada moved forward. From the outside, it must have looked insane. 800 ships charging toward 12,000. But Tae-sung had studied the precursor battle data. The Vilnari didn't fight like humans. They fought like storms, unpredictable and overwhelming. The Varesh opened fire first. Thousands of energy beams lanced through space, enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. The Stormbreakers didn't try to tank the hits. They phased, their quantum drives bending space to slip between the incoming fire like ghosts. Then the Stormbreakers returned fire. Bora's striker wing hit first, 20 ships moving in perfect coordination, their plasma cascade cannons charging simultaneously. When they fired, space itself seemed to tear. 15 Varesh cruisers simply ceased to exist, ripped apart at the molecular level. Direct hit, Bora shouted. These weapons are incredible. But the Dominion had numbers. For every ship the Stormbreakers destroyed, 5 more moved up to take its place. The battle became a grinding slugfest. Humanity's advanced technology against overwhelming numerical superiority. Taesung's battle group focused on protecting the flanks. His ship, the Storm's Edge, danced through enemy fire with reflexes that shouldn't have been possible for something so large. The ship responded to his thoughts, his instincts. When he wanted to turn, it turned. When he wanted to fire, the weapons were already targeting. It was exactly as Bora had described. He was becoming the Storm. "Commander, we're being targeted by their heavy cruisers," his tactical officer reported. 30 ships converging on our position." "Good," Taesung said. "Let them commit. All ships focus fire on the cruisers. Full power." The Stormbreakers unleashed everything they had. The reality anchor shields held against the enemy's return fire, while their own weapons carved through the Varesh armor like it was paper. But the cost was real. One of Taesung's ships took a direct hit to its reactor core. It exploded in a flash of light that briefly outshone the system's sun. First blood. First loss. Aboard the command ship far from the front lines, Dr. Hana worked frantically. She was decoding more precursor battle tactics in real time, feeding them to the fleet commanders. Jiwoo worked beside her, his hands flying across multiple keyboards at once. "I found something," Jiwoo said suddenly. "The Stormbreakers can network together, link their systems into one tactical mind. It would multiply their combat effectiveness." "Can we do it during combat?" Hana asked. "I don't know, but we need to try." They sent the data to the fleet. Engineer Hye-jin, working from one of the shipyards, immediately began developing the integration protocols. She was young, brilliant, and absolutely fearless when it came to pushing technology beyond its limits. "I need volunteers," she announced on the fleet channel. "Pilots willing to link their consciousness with their ships and each other. The psychological strain will be intense. You might not survive." Every single pilot volunteered. The battle raged for 3 days. The Stormbreakers fought with a fury that shocked the Dominion. These weren't the easy victims they were used to conquering. Every human ship destroyed took 15 Varesh vessels with it. The math was brutal but clear. At this rate, humanity would lose, but they'd make the Dominion pay for every meter of space. On the second day, Hye-jin's fusion protocol was ready. 20 pilots volunteered for the first test. They linked their consciousness to their ships and then to each other, creating a battle network that moved with one mind. The results were terrifying. The networked ships moved like they were dancing a choreographed routine. They covered each other's weaknesses perfectly, shared shield power and coordinated fire with millisecond precision. A squadron of Varesh ships that outnumbered them 5-1 was destroyed in less than 2 minutes. But when the fusion ended, 5 pilots were comatose. 3 more were screaming, their minds damaged by the strain. "It works, but the cost is too high," Dr. Youngmi reported. She was the psychologist assigned to monitor the fusion pilots. The human mind wasn't designed to be part of a machine consciousness. "We're pushing them too hard." "We don't have a choice," Admiral Kyung-soo said grimly. "Keep refining the process. Make it safer if you can." By the end of the 3rd day, the Dominion had lost over 3,000 ships, but humanity had lost 41 Stormbreakers. At this rate of attrition, the math still favored the enemy. Then something changed. The Dominion fleet suddenly pulled back, regrouping at the edge of the system. For the first time in recorded history, the Varesh Dominion had been forced to retreat from a battle they expected to win easily. Taesung watched them go, his ship battered but intact. Around him floated the debris of both human and alien vessels. "The cost had been terrible. Did we win?" his tactical officer asked. "We survived," Taesung replied. "That's all that matters." A message came through from Admiral Kyung-soo. "All battle groups return to base for repairs and refit." "Well done. You've proven we can fight them." But as Taesung turned his ship toward home, he knew the truth. They had proven they could fight, yes. But could they win? The Dominion still had thousands of ships left. Humanity had just over 800 Stormbreakers now, and each loss was irreplaceable in the short term. Dr. Hana sent him a private message. "We detected a transmission from the Dominion fleet. They're calling for reinforcements." "Massive reinforcements. How many?" Taesung asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "Every ship they have. They're bringing their entire military force to crush us. 20,000 vessels, maybe more." Taesung looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there was Earth, home to billions of people counting on him and the other warriors to protect them. He thought about the Velnari, the ancient precursors who had built these magnificent weapons but died anyway. Were humans about to follow them into extinction? His ship's consciousness brushed against his mind and he felt something unexpected. Not fear, not doubt, Just a simple, pure determination. The Stormbreakers wanted to fight. They had been built for this purpose, to protect those who refused to surrender. "Let them come," Taesung whispered. "We'll be ready." The conference room at Earth High Command was packed with people who looked like they hadn't slept in days. Admiral Kyung-soo sat at the head of the table, his gray hair seeming to have gained more silver since Taesung had last seen him. Around the table sat generals, scientists, and politicians, all staring at the holographic display showing the approaching alien fleet. "How long?" Admiral Kyung-soo asked. 6 months, Taesung replied. "Maybe 7 if they stop to refuel. But they're coming, and they're coming for us." Dr. Won-shik, the military's chief physicist, stood up and gestured to the Stormbreaker designs. "I've analyzed the data Commander Taesung brought back. This technology is thousands of years beyond anything we have. The weapons alone could revolutionize warfare. One of these ships could take on 10 of our best cruisers. Can we build them?" the Admiral asked. Won-shik hesitated. "In theory, yes. The blueprints are incredibly detailed, almost like they were made for species less advanced than their creators. But the timeline is the problem. Even with every shipyard working at maximum capacity, we'd need years to build a proper fleet." "We don't have years," said a woman from the far end of the table. Ambassador Yuna had just returned from the Galactic Concordat, the alliance of elder races that governed most of known space. She looked tired and angry. "I spoke with the Concordat Council. They're aware of the incoming threat, and," Admiral Kyung-soo prompted, "they voted to remain neutral. They said humanity's conflicts are not their concern. They also warned us not to use ancient precursor technology, claiming it's too dangerous and could destabilize galactic peace." Yuna's hands clenched into fists. "They're going to let us die." The room erupted in angry voices. Taesung remained quiet, watching the Admiral. Kyung-soo was known for staying calm when everyone else panicked. It was why he led the fleet. The Admiral raised his hand and the room fell silent. "Then we stand alone. Ambassador, send a formal response to the Concordat. Tell them we acknowledge their position. Dr. Won-shik, you have unlimited resources. I want every shipyard, every factory, every engineer working on Project Stormbreaker starting today." "Admiral," Won-shik said carefully, "even with unlimited resources, the math doesn't work. We can't build enough ships in time. Then we'll build what we can and make it count." Kyung-soo turned to Taesung. "Commander, you found this technology. You'll help oversee its implementation. Work with Dr. Won-shik and make this happen." Over the next weeks, humanity mobilized like never before. 20 massive shipyards across 15 star systems began construction simultaneously. Dr. Hana worked around the clock translating more of the precursor data, discovering new details about the technology with each passing day. Ji-woo became invaluable. The young engineer seemed to understand the precursor systems instinctively, solving problems that stumped scientists 3 times his age. He discovered that the technology wasn't entirely mechanical. It had a kind of awareness, a limited intelligence that responded to its builders. "It's like it's testing us," Ji-woo explained to Taesung one night in the shipyard. "The systems adapt based on how we interact with them. They're becoming easier to build, like they're learning that we're worthy." "Worthy of what?" Taesung asked. Ji-woo didn't have an answer. The first prototype took shape in orbit above Earth. They called it the Thunderfall, and it was beautiful in a deadly way. 300 meters of sleek armor and impossible weapons, powered by reactors that drew energy from quantum foam itself. When they powered it up for the first time, every sensor in the solar system registered the surge. Specialist Bora was chosen as the test pilot. She was one of humanity's best, with reflexes enhanced by neural implants and a combat record that spoke for itself. When she climbed into the pilot's chair, something unexpected happened. "The ship is talking to me," she said over the comm. "What do you mean talking?" Won-shik asked nervously. "Not in words. In feelings, impressions, it wants to know if I'm ready to fight." Bora paused. "I told it yes." The Thunderfall moved like nothing humanity had ever built. It didn't just fly, it seemed to dance through space. The weapons systems responded to Bora's thoughts before she could touch the controls. During test firing, the plasma cannons cut through target asteroids like they were made of paper. "This is insane," Bora reported, her voice filled with awe. "It's like becoming the storm itself. I can feel the ship's power, its eagerness. It wants to protect us." More ships followed. Construction accelerated as the precursor technology continued to adapt to human builders. What should have taken months took weeks. What should have taken weeks took days. It was as if the ancient systems wanted to be built, wanted to fight again. Dr. Hana made a disturbing discovery in the precursor archives. She called Taesung to her laboratory in the middle of the night. "I found out what happened to the precursors," she said, showing him translated text. "They were called the Velnari. 5 million years ago, they were hunted to extinction." "By who?" Hana pulled up an image. It showed creatures that looked almost insect-like, with multiple limbs and armor-plated bodies. They called their enemies the Varesh, an ancient species that conquered every civilization they encountered. The Varesh hunted the Velnari across the galaxy until none remained. "Why are you showing me this?" Taesung asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "The fleet coming toward us?" I analyzed the signal from the monument. It was encoded with warning patterns. The Varesh are the descendants of those ancient conquerors. They've been looking for this technology for millions of years, and we just told them where to find it. Taesung felt cold. They're not coming to conquer us. They're coming to stop us from using the Stormbreakers. Worse, Hana said quietly. According to this data, the Velnari built the Stormbreakers as a last defense. They were completed too late to save their civilization. These weapons have never been used in actual combat. We're about to field test them against the species that destroyed their creators. 3 months after the discovery of the monument, Admiral Kyung-soo stood before the completed Stormbreaker Armada, 847 vessels, each one a masterpiece of ancient technology and human determination. It wasn't enough to match the enemy's numbers, but it would have to be enough. Fleet Master Jin Ho, a gray-haired veteran who had fought in every major battle of the last 30 years, took command of the Armada. He organized the ships into 7 battle groups, each led by humanity's finest commanders. Dong-hyun received command of the 2nd battle group, a promotion he accepted with grim determination. The enemy arrived at the edge of human space right on schedule. 12,000 warships, each one larger than anything humanity had built before the Stormbreakers. They broadcasted a message in broken English. "Humans, you possess Velnari technology. Surrender it immediately. Surrender, or be eliminated." Admiral Kyung-soo's response was transmitted across every human world. "Come and take it." The war had begun. The research vessel drifted through the Outer Veil Nebula like a small fish in an ocean of stars. Commander Taesung stood on the bridge, watching the swirling clouds of gas and dust paint colors across the view screen that no human eye had seen before. His crew had been out here for 3 months, charting systems that existed beyond the edges of known space. Dr. Hana rushed onto the bridge, her tablet clutched in both hands. Her eyes were wide with excitement, the kind of look that made Taesung both curious and worried. In his experience, scientists who got that excited usually wanted to do something dangerous. "Commander, you need to see this," Hana said, pulling up an image on the main screen. "We detected an anomaly orbiting the red giant in Sector 7. It's artificial. Very artificial." Taesung leaned forward. The structure on the screen was massive, easily the size of Earth's moon. It had geometric patterns that hurt to look at, angles that seemed wrong somehow. The metal, if it was metal, absorbed light in ways that made it appear to shift and move. "How old?" Taesung asked. Hana's hand shook as she typed. "The star is dying. Based on its decay rate and the radiation signatures, that structure has been there for at least 5 million years. Maybe longer." The bridge went silent. 5 million years ago, humans were still learning to walk upright. The oldest known alien civilization, the Catharin, had only existed for 1 million years. Whatever built this structure was ancient beyond comprehension. "We need to investigate," Hana said. "This could be the discovery of the century." Taesung knew he should report this to High Command first. Wait for authorization. Follow protocol. But something about the structure called to him. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the warrior's instinct that said important things should not be left waiting. "Dong-hyun," he called to his 2nd officer. "Set course for the anomaly. Full stealth mode. If something built that and it's still active, I don't want to surprise it." Captain Dong-hyun nodded and began entering commands. The ship turned smoothly, engines barely making a whisper as they approached the ancient structure. It took 6 hours to reach it. Up close, the structure was even more impressive. Massive towers rose from a central sphere, covered in symbols that seemed to glow faintly. There were no windows, no obvious doors, nothing that suggested how to enter. "I'm picking up a weak energy signature," said Ji-woo, the young engineer who had transferred to the ship just 2 months ago. It's responding to our presence. Like it knows we're here. As if responding to his words, a section of the structure's surface rippled like water. An opening appeared large enough for their shuttle to enter. That's an invitation, Hana said. We have to go in. Taesung made his decision. Hana, Jiwoo, you're with me. Donghyun, you have the ship. If we're not back in 4 hours, leave immediately and report this to High Command. Donghyun started to protest, but Taesung cut him off with a look. They both knew the rules. The ship and its data were more important than 3 lives. The shuttle ride through the opening was unsettling. The walls around them pulsed with light, guiding them deeper into the structure. When they finally landed in a vast chamber, their instruments went crazy. The technology around them was so advanced that their scanners couldn't properly classify it. Hana was the first one out, practically running toward a wall covered in crystalline formations. These are data cores, she said, her voice filled with wonder. Millions of them. It's an archive. Jiwoo approached a pedestal in the center of the chamber. On top of it sat a crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Commander, I think this is some kind of interface. Can you access it? Taesung asked. The young engineer pulled out his equipment and began working. His fingers flew across his keyboard, trying different frequencies and signals. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. Then the crystal began to pulse in rhythm with his equipment. I'm in, Jiwoo whispered. The entire chamber came to life. Lights blazed along the walls. Holographic displays appeared in the air, showing star charts and designs that made no sense. And then, in the center of it all, a single image formed. It was a warship, but not like any ship humanity had ever built. It was sleek and terrible, covered in weapons that seemed to bend space itself. The design was perfect, every line and curve serving a purpose. Just looking at it made Taesung's warrior instincts scream. This was a weapon built by masters of war. More designs appeared. Hundreds of ships, weapons, shields, power systems, all impossibly advanced, all complete with detailed blueprints and specifications. This is a weapons database, Hana said slowly. Whoever built this place, they were preparing for war. Jiwoo's equipment beeped. I'm downloading everything. The system is cooperating like it wants us to have this information. Text appeared in the hologram, written in symbols that their translation software struggled with. Slowly words began to form in English. Stormbreaker Protocol, Hana read aloud. To those who find this archive, we leave our final gift. We failed to survive, but perhaps you will succeed where we could not. Use our storm wisely. Who were they? Taesung asked. Before anyone could answer, the chamber shook. Every display turned red. A new message appeared, this time in sharp, angry symbols. Warning, Jiwoo translated. The archive is transmitting a signal. It's broadcasting our location across the galaxy. Shut it down, Taesung ordered. I can't. It's automatic. Jiwoo's fingers flew across his keyboard, but nothing worked. The transmission lasted exactly 30 seconds. When it stopped, the chamber went dark except for the soft glow of the data cores. Jiwoo's equipment showed that the download was complete. They had everything. We need to leave now, Taesung said. They ran back to the shuttle. As they lifted off, Hana looked back at the structure. Commander, what if that signal wasn't a warning? What if it was a beacon? A beacon for who? Jiwoo asked. Taesung didn't answer. He was too busy getting them back to the ship. When they docked, Donghyun was waiting with a grim expression. Commander, we have a problem. Long-range sensors just picked up a massive fleet entering human space. Unknown design. At least 10,000 ships. Wait, from what direction? Taesung asked, though he already knew the answer. From the direction that signal was sent. Taesung looked at the data crystal Jiwoo was carrying. Inside it was the knowledge of an ancient civilization, weapons that could change everything. But someone else had been looking for this archive. Someone with an enormous fleet. Set course for Earth, Taesung ordered. Maximum speed. And send a priority alert to High Command. Tell them we found something that's going to start a war. As the ship jumped to faster than light speed, racing toward home, Taesung stared at the weapons designs displayed on his screen. The ancient builders called them Stormbreakers. He had a feeling humanity was about to learn why.